I'm Effie and this is What Effie Reads. Since we're now in July, so we're over halfway through the year, and I've actually finally updated my reading journal, I thought I would do a little bit of a flip through of my reading journal as it currently is, like halfway through the year. I guess let's get started with flipping through. So my reading journal for this year is a Scribbles That Matter. Last year I used this brand, Lamy, I believe it is. I could be wrong. It was okay, but I decided to switch to Scribbles That Matter because I had that happen with the Lamy. I also had issues with the dots not being lined up. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can quite see, but the dots didn't line up across the page, which meant that you didn't get a great even spread. Anyway, this is not about last year's. So I use a Scribbles That Matter, and so far I've been really impressed with it. The quality of the paper is really good. I don't experience bleed through, and also there's a great page at the back. Ignore my scribbles on that page, but there's actually a pen test page at the back, so you can test all your pens prior to using them, and as you can see, none of those pens bled through. So the first page isn't particularly interesting. You've got a key and then you've got an index. I'm not great at updating the index page, however I have done now because I knew I was filming this. So you've got all these index pages, and then I have a calendar of 2021 releases. I primarily use this to keep on top of NetGalley books that I've got ARCs for, as well as pre-orders, and obviously I've written all of the months in pen, but I write the book titles and release dates in pencil, as I know that a lot of time those dates can shift and I want to be able to alter them quite easily. And then we have my NetGalley books one, so I use this to keep track of all of the NetGalley books that I have, and also keep track of read them, reviewed them on NetGalley, posted on Instagram. And I do have a column for my blog, although I'm not great at updating my blog. And then I've got this page, a Yearn Bookish Pixels. This was a page that I did last year, where basically for every day I colour in a square that corresponds with the rating that I gave any books that I finished that day. And then obviously you can see there's a few squares where there's like multiple colours, and that is obviously when I have finished multiple books in the same day. There is one square, I believe it's this square, where I actually ended up doing an average, because I think if I complete more than 4 books in a day, it just becomes really difficult to try and kind of colour it in different colours. So I just averaged them out and then coloured it in the average of all those ratings. And then this is a page that I've only done in January, as I decided it was limiting my reading. But basically I would write the title of the book and I would colour it in for the days that I read it on, and if I didn't read it, it would just have a straight line through it. But as I say, it felt like it was limiting my reading as I could only have 5 titles on the go at once. So it wasn't ideal. Like, I love this visual representation of how long books were taking me to read, but as I say, it just wasn't practical. And then we have the bookshelves pages. Now there's one for every month, so these are all the books that I finished in the month of January, and I keep it really simple. I just like draw some shelves and then I draw little books and write the titles on the spines. And then this spread is so obviously I write the titles of all the books, give a rating, and then I've got this indicates kind of the type of book, like if it was a library book, and also some other categories. I will flick back to the pen test page. As I say, it's not the neatest of page, it's a little bit scruffy, but you can see I say, is it from Amazon, NetGalley, Scribd, my personal collection, my local library or a different library, is it physical, ebook, audiobook, and then I've got a few categories that I also like to indicate. So if it's non-fiction, a children's book, middle grade, or a graphic novel. And then this obviously is a graphical representation of how many pages I read each day, and it goes from 0 to, well, it goes to 600. However, this page I didn't go beyond 500. And these colours kind of line up with these, although some of the pens are similar colours, so it's not necessarily easy to tell. And then I have no idea why I've got this blank page. I think because I like the pages read to be a double page spread, so I was like, oh, I'll fill that in later. Haven't come up with it again. So again, we've got my February bookshelf. I did a couple of little doodles. And again, these are all books that I read during the month of February. And you'll see that there's a couple of books that appear to be duplicated. That's because I actually reread the book in the same month, and I've decided that each reading of the book would count as one, hence why I've put it on the bookshelf twice. And again, we've got the pages read page for the month of February, and in this month on one of the days I read 676 pages, and I wasn't sure how to handle that, so I just made the bar go all the way across the page and then indicated how many pages I actually read on that day. And then we have the March bookcase, so again all the books that I read in the month of March. And we've got my Bookopoly-thon spread. Now, it's not great, but it does the job. So I think it was Maddie over at Book Rising Blog recommended that you start off by having some goals in mind. So I decided that my spread would start with aims and then kind of goals and then like stretch goals. And I did just a little thing of the prompts so that I knew what prompts came up throughout the day. And my poor drawing skills, I tried to draw the covers for each of the books that I read, and I wrote a few notes about each of them as well. So as you can see, this continued. And then I also did some notes about kind of how I found the day and just reflecting. And then again, we've got the March pages read spread. And then in April I did 30 books in 30 days, so I had to leave a bit more space for the bookcase, so it ended up going over 2 pages. Again, I'd like to fill in this empty space, although I'm not sure what I will fill it in with. And then it was Readathon in April. I think it was at the start of April. I can't remember the exact date. And I decided to do a breakdown of kind of how many pages I read each hour during the day, and then again I had a kind of a final thoughts reflection on how I found Readathon and how it went for me. And then I did this little spread of 30 books in 30 days. Just kept it really simple, kind of read dates, ratings, and obviously I stuck in all of the covers of the books. And I also included these 2 books that I wasn't sure if they would count as my 30 books in 30 days. So these are books that I started in March and finished in April. And obviously these are, as you can see, books 31 and 32 that I read. And again, I did a little bit of a kind of final thoughts. And then we've got my pages read in April and this month. In this month, because I did a Dice Control My Reading week, or it was intended to be a week. So I had a lot of books that I started that I didn't necessarily continue. And yeah. So I had to actually make this a large page. So this has got an extra page and it flips out to give you more books. And as you can see on the pages read spread, I ended up having to make a couple of the days two rows deep just to fit in all of the pages that I managed to read. And then we go on to May, which again you've got my bookcase, and then it was book natathon, so I thought I would do a very simplistic representation of the bingo board with little tick boxes, and as you can see I managed to achieve every prompt. And again we've got my pages read in May, and then we are on to June, which, because it was Pride Month, I decided to doodle a couple of flags. We've got the Pride flag and we've also got the non-binary flag. Not sure why I decided to draw a Tanto. I think because I was slightly inspired by the fact that I read Battle Royale and Battle Royale Angel's Border. It felt right in that moment. And June was also the first month where I played my TBR game, so I did a very simplistic spread representing like each of the Pokemon encounters. I did a little doodle for the Pokemon types, and I also kind of noted what Pokemon I saw and what book I plan to read. And then we also had whatever you want-a-thon that took place in the month of June. So we have this very simple spread. I wasn't sure if I was going to try and draw the covers, but a lot of the covers of the books that I read have people on the front, and I just didn't feel confident that this spread was going to look good. So I kept it really simple and just wrote the titles and how many points each book awarded me, as well as kind of these to denote every time I reached another rank. I did want to write what the ranks were on them, but the washi tape is a lot more glossy than I expected, so I haven't been able to find a pen that will actually stay on it. And you've got my team name just down there, and the total points that I managed to accrue during whatever you want-a-thon. And again, we've got the pages read in June, and this one you've got just 2 evenings where I had, or 2 days where I had to make the pages more than one row. So we've got, I believe it was the 12th, yeah. So we've got 2 for the 12th, and then for the 15th, lots of rows. That was when I read Heartstopper volumes 1 to 4. And then I decided to do just a little spread of some mid-year stats. So we've got my total pages read, total minutes listened, and then total equivalent pages. So I tend to find some kind of information on how long the physical books for the audiobooks I listen to are, and then I will count them up, which is where the equivalent pages comes in. So I'm pretty surprised actually that at the midway point in the year I'd read close to 50,000 pages already, or the equivalent thereof. And then we've got total number of books consumed up until the end of June. And this little section, I think it's quite interesting to look and see what Storygraph says my tastes are. So, as unfortunately this is going to be accurate as of July, as like mid-July when I filled in this page. So it may not be quite correct, but it's only a little bit further on than the end of June. So it says that I mainly read fiction books that are adventurous, emotional and dark, and typically choose fast-paced books that are under 300 pages long. And I'm just going to see what it said at the end of last year and see if that has changed. Says mainly reads fiction books that are dark, adventurous and emotional, typically chooses books that are under 300 pages and medium paced. So that's interesting. So the moods are the same and the page length is the same. However, I am leaning more towards fast-paced books this year, which is very interesting. And then we've got, I thought I'd just do a little update of how many of my 21 in 21 books I've read, and it's 5, so I definitely need to do some work to catch up on that. And then we've got the answers to the mid-year book freakout tag, because I just thought that'd be interesting to make a note in my reading journal. And kind of in doing that, I realised I hadn't actually created a spread for my 21 in 21. So these are the 21 titles that I plan on reading in 2021, and the books that I've already read I have coloured in using the same code as my bookish year in pixels. So this is that shade, because that's the shade I give for books that are 4.75, and that is a 3-star book. So you can see it directly relates to the earlier page, and that is my reading journal as of the end of June. So I'd love to know if you keep a reading journal, and also let me know if there's any spreads you think I should add to my reading journal, because I take a lot of pride in this. It does take me probably about a day to update it at the start of every month, but it's also really fun to do, and as you can see, it's quite aesthetically pleasing. So if you enjoyed this video, give it a like, and until next time, bye!